related intangible asset. Do you understand, class? So, do you understand as for now? Do you understand, class?
Yes, madam.
Okay. As we go on, before we start off with other things, let us look at on the terminology dulu. What does it mean by goodwill? The goodwill ni, macam yang you belajar partnership last time, you will take the difference between the value of the business as a whole, and then you minus it with the total of the fair value of its separable net asset. So you will look at the value of the business as a whole, meaning you akan cari net asset of the business, and then you will minus with the fair value of the business. Macam mana you nak tahu fair value of the business? You will take the separable net asset. What does it mean by separable net asset pula? You will take the assets and liabilities which can be identified dalam company you and sold off separately without having to sell the business as a whole. Meaning what you will do, you will take the item of the company, the assets item, asset and liability tu, you akan kira satu-satu. Okay, fair value, contohnya property berapa, land berapa, and so on, satu-satu to get the net asset. Here. Dia bagi example kat sini, patents and license lah. Okay, this is what they mean by separable net assets here. Okay, on the fair value ni is the amount an asset or liability could be exchanged in an arm's length transaction between informed and willing parties. Okay, fair value here means that persetujuan between siapa yang nak beli and also on the willing parties. Selalunya kita akan tengok market value lah ya, other than in a force or liquidation sale. Okay, so usually here we will look at on the market value. So that is on the terminology. I hope that when we go further, you understand because I have already explained on the terminology. Any question then? Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question, class? So far?
No, madam.
No question, madam.
Okay. For goodwill, goodwill may exist because of any combination of a number of possible factors. So goodwill. I tak tahu what can I translate goodwill. Apa goodwill? Ihsan ya nama dia. Ihsan ke if I'm not mistaken ya. It arises because of reputation for quality or service. Okay. So that's why tiba-tiba dia jadi ada goodwill lah. Something like you have to follow this thing. There is technical expertise because of that. Possession of a favorable contracts. Okay. Good management and staff. So these are the things, okay, that arises goodwill. So why people want to have business combination? Because of the reputation of the quality of that business. Contohnya. Okay, and then you have to take the business. I'm talking about business combination. They can take net assets of the company too, and then compare with the market value of the company. They can check one by one of the asset. The difference too will be the goodwill. Okay, sama lah. Sama macam partnership. Kenapa partners tu nak masuk dalam company, dalam business partner tu? Why there is admission? Because maybe ada technical expertise dalam tu. Okay, ataupun kalau you tengok dalam newspaper ataupun mana-mana business punya portal, ada company yang nak ambil. Macam contoh baru-baru recent here, I baca Khazanah dah jual, take over apa nama company dah, something like that. Okay, or maybe because of good management and staff. Ni last time banyak orang nak join with AirAsia, but this time tak ada dah, ya, contohnya. Okay, so on the goodwill part, which is intangible, dia adalah purchase goodwill ataupun non-purchase goodwill. So let us look at on the purchase goodwill. Purchase goodwill, they arise when one business acquires another as a going concern. So like I mentioned, kenapa business tu nak beli satu lagi business? Why? Because the reputation of that business. Okay. Includes goodwills arising on the acquisition of a subsidiary or associated company. Okay, samalah ni lebih kurang. Okay, meaning you acquire more subsidiary company. Okay, the recent bukan Kazana, I pun tak ingat hari tu I baca siapa company GLC lah ya. Will be recognized in the financial statement as its value at a particular point in time is certain. Example, there was a market transaction, and that's why this year they are mentioned about fair value. So ada fair value of each of the asset, then they will be a purchase goodwill then. So how to calculate purchase goodwill? You will take the fair value of business as a whole, you minus with the fair value of separable net asset. This is where you did with your partnership last time yang ada admission. Admission of a new partner, you bawa masuk partner baru. Contohnya. For the non-purchase goodwill, also known as inherent goodwill, ini business anak beranak lah ya, tiba-tiba jatuh kat tangan anak dia. So this one has no identifiable value. No event has occurred to identify its value, and so value would be subjective. So because of dia bukan jual business dia, ataupun there is no business combination, there is no admission of a partner or whatever, but it is actually inherited from the moyang, kata contoh. So because of that, it is very subjective. So therefore, this will not be identified as intangibles then. So it's not recognized in the financial statement as it fails to satisfy the recognition criteria in the framework as it cannot be measured reliably. So dia tak tahu kenapa dia bagi dekat macam cerita drama Melayu kan, tiba-tiba harta tu jatuh dekat business tu jatuh dekat tangan anak dia contohnya. Itu inherited goodwill lah, meaning so because of that dia jatuh macam tu, you don't have to calculate the value of the goodwill then. Okay, sebab you cannot identify berapa value of the goodwill tu. So dia inherited, diwarisi contohnya ya. So that one will not be categorized as framework then. Categorized as intangibles. Okay. Okay, now let us look at here. Intangible classification. Okay, sebab we are now in the topic part recognizing and classifying. How should the following intangible assets be treated in financial statement? A publishing title acquired as part of a subsidiary company. A publishing title. A license purchased in order to make a new product. So you have to go back to here. Dia falls under kategori yang mana dekat sini to recognize. You understand what I'm saying here, class? Do you understand what I'm saying here? So, yang antara dua ni, yang mana satu you rasa dia akan treat sebagai intangible asset? Which one? Which one do you think?
Two.
Number 2, right? Because it is separately separable net assets. Bukan separable net asset, but dia adalah separate acquisition. Okay, so let us look at on the explanation then. Okay, for this one, for number 1 ni, bukanlah dia tak boleh recognize sebagai intangible asset, but then it will depends on whether the asset can be valued reliably. So, meaning if it can be measured, okay, then the title will be recognized as fair value, and then it will be treated as a goodwill on acquisition. If it can be measured. But as for the number 2, here, they may purchase a license to get market new product. So as the license has been purchased separately from a business, it can be recognized in example capitalized separately as cost. Contohnya, sekarang banyak kes COVID kan. Jadi salah satu company ni, let's see, dia nak apply untuk license buat PPE. Saya bagi contoh ya. Buat PPE punya equipment. So dia kena minta license. Dia adalah bukan company yang sebelum ni produce PPE. Tapi tiba-tiba dia nak produce PPE. Dah tak ada business dah. So what happen? Dia kena apply daripada government ataupun dia kena bayar license. Let's see. So for that license, okay, therefore kita kena capitalize dia sebagai intangible asset. Because it is separately acquired. Okay, itu contohnya. Okay. Okay, class? So we have discussed up to this point. Number 1, category here. 2, internally generated goodwill. And we also discuss on the internally generated intangible asset yang pirate ni. Okay, so that's the thing under intangibles. Now intangibles assets acquired by a government grant. Government bagi, and then untuk contohnya hak mining tadi, menggali, digging. 2 options. Ini sama macam you all buat dengan ayat itu. Record the intangible asset at its fair value and amortize its useful life. Dia tak nama depreciation ya for intangibles. For intangibles, they call it as amortization. Also record the grant at its fair value as deferred income and amortize through profit or loss over the useful life of the asset to which it relates. Yang ni I'm quite sure you are very familiar with it. Am I right? This is under IAS 20 if I'm not mistaken. Okay, 20 or 23. I tak ingat borrowing cost 23 kot kan. Do you understand about this one? You understand class? Yang ni kita dah buat dah banyak kali. The latest we did is on the last 2 weeks on the government grant. And if I'm not mistaken, Cormac also explained on this government grant. Or you record at the nominal amount paid plus expenditure directly attributable to preparation for use and then amortize over the intangible asset useful life. So meaning you have the asset, minus lah daripada asset tu. Amortization dia awal-awal lagi dah minus. So both methods result in the same cost being recognized in profit or loss per annum. Cuma bezanya adalah ini bukannya asset, but then dia adalah hak yang diberi oleh government. Macam contoh yang I tunjuk untuk IAS 20 tu, government bagi some amount of money for the company to purchase machine. Contohnya, machine tu harga 100,000, jadi 20,000 dibantu oleh kerajaan. Contohnya, itu asset dia tangible. Ini asset dia adalah intangibles. Intangibles macam mana? Government bagi hak untuk mining. Macam Menteri Besar Kedah hari tu dia mention dia open for a company untuk cari gali mineral water dekat Kedah. Okay. So the company yang nak minta hak tu nanti kerajaan Kedah akan bantulah sikit. So the amount of money untuk hak untuk what you call it, cari gali mineral tu tadi will be considered as government grant. Mungkin dia kena bayar sikit lah pada government. Okay, cara nak amortize dia sama macam cara nak calculate depreciation untuk tangible asset dalam IAS 20. Okay? Okay class? Okay class? Okay. Now, kita go back to the internally generated intangible asset. This one. We go back to this one. This one. Okay, we go back to this one. I hope that you understand, right? All these 5 things. So kita go back to this one. For this initial recognition, dia adalah internally generated intangible asset. Okay, meaning you created that cost and then dia tiba-tiba ada dalam asset you, dalam company you. An example, you want to come out with a product. Okay, the business want to come up with a product. Before they come up with the product, dia nak kena buat research. The research cost, okay, the cost incurred untuk buat research tu will not recognize as intangible, not recognize expenses. Research dia. Now, selalunya yang you all tengok dekat dalam Shopee, dia selalunya ada intangibles nama research and development cost. Am I right, class? Selalu tak you tengok dalam Shopee dia ada tulis research and development cost. Ada tak you all tengok Shopee? Ada tak tulis tu?
Ada.
Okay. Now, it is not recognized, kalau research saja, it will not be recognized as expenses. It will not be recognized as intangible, but it will be recognized as expense. But for the development, dia mesti ada research and development. For the development, they must be capitalized. Okay, maksudnya dia akan jadi IAS 38 when they combine these two. But ada syarat dia when the pirate criteria met. Other example brands yang lain not recognized part of developing business as a whole. So kalau brand sahaja, okay, tapi the purpose is not to ada commercial transaction macam cerita macam daging harimau tadi, tak apa sebab dia nak create sales. Tapi ini adalah brand of the company tapi it's not for creating sales. I tak boleh nak beritahu example, cannot come out ni. Apa dia pun not sure. Okay. Tapi kalau brands tu, it is not for the purpose of to develop the company ataupun ada to create more sales, then it will not be recognized as IAS 38. So this one is talking about internally generated intangible assets. Okay, what does it mean by pirate criteria ni? Okay, we go back to the definition of IAS, IASB punya framework about asset. Asset ni dia control by entity as a result of past event and from which future economic benefits are expected to flow to the company, to the entity. Like I mentioned, so the reason of their control or their purchase, they acquire that asset, okay, it is because they expected something in return from the asset. So they recognize that asset, okay, because the asset will bring inflow of economic benefits to the entity. Meaning it is very probable that there will be some kind of amount of money to the business. And the most part from the framework, dia kata the important part, the cost of the asset can be measured. Itu syarat dia dalam pirate. Okay? Now, with development expenditure, it is not always possible to determine whether or not economic benefits will result. Okay? Now, you make some kind of research and then you want to make some kind of development cost. But you cannot make sure, okay, we cannot make sure that the product will be developed. Okay? And you cannot make sure that, kan you buat research and development, you tak tahu menjadi ataupun tidak. And then you cannot make sure that there is economic benefits from the research and development. Contohnya. And so, okay, because of kita cannot be sure, it is not probable, kan, kita buat research, kita buat development, tapi we cannot make sure that our product ni berjaya in the market, contohnya. So IAS 38 deals with this issue by laying down the criteria for recognition of intangible asset. Macam mana you nak make sure in the future orang akan beli, contohnya. Okay, macam mana you nak make sure? Macam daging Mak Nilofa lah, dia keluarkan, dia buat research. Okay, daging ni dia buat resepi. Okay, ni resepi dia sendiri kan. So tiba-tiba dia kata, okay, ni resepi dia dan dia buat macam ni, okay, this is dia punya brand. Okay, and then dia expected nanti orang akan belilah daging harimau menangis ni bila dia patternkan nama daging harimau. Tiba-tiba come on, semua orang ada sebenarnya kata, macam mana dia dah develop dah the product. You understand? Tiba-tiba dia tak boleh buat. Contohnya. So, IAS 38, dia kata dia laying down the criteria for recognition of an intangible asset arising from development expenditure. Dia dah develop, the company, the person dah develop, but suddenly dia cannot make sure yang ada possible transaction data. Okay, so that's why IAS 38 dia create the name pirate dekat sini. Kita akan tengok further on the pirate. But before that, kita akan tengok kenapa I kata tadi research and development is actually two different things. Kalau research, it is not recognized as IAS 38, but it will be recognized as expense. But kalau development, dia kena tengok sama ada dia meet pirate criteria or not. So, for research ni, dia ada original and planned investigation undertaken with the prospect of gaining new scientific knowledge and understanding. Now, here I can think of daripada minggu ni, I duk cari apa example yang boleh guna. COVID COVID-19. Bila COVID jadi daripada last year, 2019 kot, end of 2019. So bila COVID tiba-tiba dia jadi wabak, and then scientists started to make some kind of research on it. Okay, that is considered as original and planned investigation. Okay, to get scientific knowledge and understanding why is this virus come out, contohnya. So they make some kind of research. Development is the application of the research findings or other knowledge to a plan or design for the production of new or substantially improved materials, devices, products, processes, system or services before the start of commercial production or use. So when they did research, dia dah tahu dah, okay, COVID-19 ni actually dia dah ada virus daripada blah 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 and so on. So how to overcome this COVID-19? So that's why I come out sekarang ni with the vaccine. This is the development thing. Okay, this is development thing. They apply the research finding from here. Dia buat research kenapa jadinya COVID-19, and then they develop from the findings from the research here yang about COVID-19 tadi, they come out with the products that will be the vaccine. You understand what I'm saying here? Itu the best example yang I boleh bagi. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
Yes, madam.
Bila dia buat research on the COVID-19, dia cannot recognize research tu. Okay, katalah dia dalam satu company lah, yang I bagi contoh company science dia company medical health ke apa ke benda lah ya. Dia buat research on COVID-19. The research yang dia buat tu, it should not be categorized as IAS 38. Sebab research itu takkan datangkan any probable income to the company, probable inflow to the company. But when they want to develop the anti-vaccine, okay, when they want to develop the anti-vaccine, the products, meaning they will start with the commercial production, meaning later, okay, akan ada sales transaction from the anti-vaccine. Mahal ya, I dengar cerita. Do you understand what I'm saying here? So setiap negara dah belilah anti-vaccine ni. Kita akan sampai dalam end of February ataupun March kan, contoh. So that is referring to research and development. So kalau dia research saja, it will not be recognized as IAS 38. So kalau research expenditure, you will write off dalam income statement as an expense. But if it's development expenditure, you akan recognize as intangible asset. Okay, tapi ada syarat lain. When it meets the pirate criteria. Okay, so what does it mean by that? Ini yang dalam ni lah. Okay, this one must be capitalized if the pirate criteria met. Apa dia pirate criteria? The first one, recognition probable future economic benefits. Okay, when they develop the anti-vaccine punya tu, dijual, okay, meaning there will be inflow to the company. intention to complete and use and sell the intangible asset. Ialah dia punya development cost dia. Okay. Resources adequate and available to complete and use sell asset. Ini lagi lah. Memang ramai akan beli the vaccine. Ability to use or sell the intangible asset. Okay, the development cost. The technical feasibility. Expenditure can be reliably measured. So, expenditure not meeting all these 6 criteria is treated as an expense. I am talking now about intangible asset bernama research and development. That's why you takkan pernah tengok dalam Shopee ada nama intangible research saja, ataupun you takkan tengok dalam Shopee intangible asset nama development cost only. They must come together, research and development. Okay, ataupun kalau dia development cost tapi dia tak ada benda-benda ni, then you cannot recognize it as IAS 38. Okay?
Okay,
so,
madam.
Untuk pirate criteria ni, the first thing yang ada probable future economic benefits here. What does it mean by that? How the intangible asset will generate probable future economic benefits later. Contohnya anti-vaccine tadi. Among other things, the entity should demonstrate the existence of a market. Okay? Memang ada market lah untuk vaksin tadi, anti-vaksin COVID tadi. Dia kata company ni kena demonstrate for the output of the intangible asset or the intangible asset itself. Or if it's to be used internally, the usefulness of the intangible asset. Dia adalah asset internally in the company. Company tu yang come up with the cost, research and development cost. Now, resources adequate and available to complete and use sell asset. What does it mean by that? The availability of adequate technical. Scientists banyaklah guna what happened. Financial, okay. So WHO, they funded all the scientists punya company to come out with this anti-vaccine. And other resources to complete the development and to use or sell the intangible asset. So this is R lah, where this one, resources. E, the expenditure can be reliably measured. The ability to reliably measure the expenditure attributable to the intangible assets during its development. So when they want to develop the anti-vaccine, I tak tahulah saintis guna apa, I bukan orang sains kan. Tapi dia akan ambil everything, apa-apa benda, the kimia things ke, chemical ke, the biology things ke, and so on. And then they come out. Kan ada isu vaksin tu ada babi lah, apa, haram lah, and so on kan. Kita pun not sure about that. Okay. And the recent I dengar, PAS punya Hadi Awang tu akan guna will be the first will be the person untuk ambil injection anti-vaccine tu to make sure that everyone understand that it is not haram lah. Okay, it is halal. I hope that you all very equipped with the things. Tak tengok lah dalam Facebook ataupun Twitter hanya kisah pasal Syuk tu kahwin 3 or whatever, dia curang kan. So it will be more on the balance lah, okay, to get also more information on this anti-vaccine. So it is only expenditure incurred after the recognition criteria have been met, which should be recognized as an asset. Okay, so ada expenditure. So development expenditure recognized as an expense in profit or loss cannot be subsequently be reinstated as asset. So when you recognize the development as expenditure, tiba-tiba you kata, ini bukan expenditure lah, you nak capitalizekan dia jadi IAS 38. You cannot do that. Kalau you once dah recognize dia sebagai expense, you have to recognize it as expense. Tapi kalau once you dah recognize dia sebagai development dan sebagai asset, intangible asset, then you put it under intangible asset. Okay. As I mentioned, for intangible asset, there is no depreciation, but then they call it as amortization. So the development expenditure should be amortized over its useful life as soon as commercial production begins. Look at this sentence, as commercial production begins. Macam contoh anti-vaccine tu. They are now starting to produce the anti-vaccine. So dia dah start buat commercial production lah. So from here you will start to amortize it. Amortize ni lebih kurang sama macam depreciation lah, tapi depreciation is value dia turun, but this one is amortization, meaning you have to amortize, tak tahu nak cakap dalam bahasa Melayu, to the cost of the particular asset. So there are two possibilities for writing off the development expenditure. The first one, you write off equal installment over the useful life. Yang kedua, you write off dia dalam bentuk sales. Kan dia dah buat production, so they start to keluarkan sales, so you akan write off dengan total sales, budgeted total sales. Okay, do you understand up to this point? Do you understand research and development in class? Do you understand about it?
Yes, madam.
Okay, how to amortize? Look at on the sentence. Bell Company has deferred development expenditure of 600,000 relating to the development of a new product X. So it is expected that the demand for the product will stay at a high level for the next 3 years. So this is the 3 years, meaning when they start to produce that product akan jadi dalam masa 3 tahun. Okay, the demand of the product. Sama macam kita punya anti-vaccine lah ya. So annual sales will be 400,000. Ini expected, okay. 400,000 budgeted lah. 400,000, 300,000, 200 units. Respectively are expected over this period. So the selling price of the product is 10. How should the development expenditure be amortized? Now let us look at on the amortization. Tadi kan ada dua. Satu, you amortize over the useful life. Satu, you amortize according to the total sales expected. So, untuk amortize over useful life, remember in the question, the useful life here, it is 3 years. So, that's why they divide by 3 years. So, the cost of the research and development is 600,000 here. Divide by 3 years. Every year, you will amortize 200,000. Sampailah research and development tu habis. So, kalau dia guna second option or second choice, dia akan ikut total sales expected. Ini budgeted total sales. So, they budgeted that in year 1, 400,000, 300,000 and 200,000. So, they will take the amount of the sales, average kan dia. So you will have the amount here. This is where you need to amortize it by years lah. So kalau you tengok kat sini cukup jugalah untuk 3 tahun. Okay, this is how to amortize the intangible asset, the research and development cost. So you understand?
Yes,
Do you understand? Okay. Then let us go with the the next example. Research and development. Ini dia buat together. Amortization nama dia pelunasan. Kalau susut nilai apa nama dia? Kalau research and development is susut nilai thank you. My husband carikan makna dia dalam bahasa Melayu. Pelunasan about dia nak lunaskan amount dia lah tu So how to lunaskan amount per year, this one lah. So an entity has incurred the following expenditure during the current year. Research and development ni adalah expenditure, but you can categorize dia sebagai IAS 38 as an asset, okay, when it met the pirate criteria just now. Look at on the question. 100,000 spent on the initial design work of a new product. It is anticipated that this design will be taken forward over the next 2-year period to be developed and tested with a view to production in 3 years' time. I nak you tengok COVID-19 punya things lah. So when there is a COVID-19, okay, so the company ataupun WHO, company under WHO or company kat Malaysia ke whatever ke, the scientists starting to buat some kind of research, and they start with the project and with the amount of money 100,000 here. Okay, so number 2, 500,000 spent on the testing of a new production system which has been designed internally and which will be in operation during the following accounting year. So number 2 here, dia dah test a product, and that product they test within dia punya company, and then that product will start operation next year. This new system should reduce the cost of production by 20%. Meaning, okay, dalam company dia tu, dia ada satu machine lah, I can say. Satu machine dia, jadi the engineer tu sendiri akan buatkan satu machine ni lagi power. Meaning, the machine akan increase production. So, the cost of the production akan decrease. So, you ada number 1 and number 2 here. Okay? How should each of these costs be treated in financial statement of the entity? Adakah ini expenses? Adakah ini intangible asset? Number 1. Or this is how to recognize. Number 2, adakah dia expenses? Kalau dia expense, you can write off to income statement. Kalau dia intangible asset, then you will put it under soft P. So how to recognize? Number 1, these are research costs. Kenapa dia research cost? Kita tengok initial design work. Macam COVID-19 tadi. Bila COVID-19 jadi aja, so the scientists will start with their initial works. So dia pun start untuk cari tahu kenapa COVID-19 ni start. So because of that, dia jadi research cost saja. And should be written off dalam profit and loss. But number 2, this is development. Dia dah start testing the product. Dia dah start testing dah dengan produk yang dia buat tu. So this is considered as development cost. Okay? And they will produce economic benefits. Kenapa? Because the production cost is now reduced by 20%. More product will come out because of this development, research and development ni. So that's why it will be capitalized as intangible asset. Okay? Okay or not okay, class?
Okay, madam.
Faham ya?
Faham.
So, sama juga macam IAS 16, you have cost model and revaluation model. So, bezalah dengan property. Property, you less depreciation. Cost model here, you less amortization. For the revaluation, you have to refer to the fair value of that particular asset. Okay. Mesti you tertanya-tanya, kalau revaluation tangible asset, you akan nampak asset tu and then you tahulah macam contoh vehicle kan, ataupun tanah kan, you tahulah fair value of the tanah tu increase ataupun decrease. But for the intangible asset, like for example the brand, macam mana you nak tahu dia punya produk increase ataupun tidak? So you kena carry out to an active market. Rasa market aktif tak untuk daging harimau menangis tadi? Contohnya the brand. And then when you did the market tadi tu, market survey tadi tu, all assets of same class should be revalued unless there is no active market for them, in which case the cost model is used. So macam if let's say the brand untuk intangible asset itu saja. Okay, the brand tu tak ada market value, then you use cost model. Okay, so revalue carrying value, you kena tengok dekat fair value of the balance sheet date. Selalunya dalam intangibles ni kebanyakannya tak adalah revaluation because it is very difficult to get the active market then. Okay. So IAS 38 specifically forbids revaluing patterns. Patterns mana boleh revalue? Patterns. Kalau orang come up with the patterns, pattern daging harimau menangis contohnya, contoh Nilofa punya tu. Pattern dark scarf contohnya, pattern Nilofa punya tudung macam mana nak revalue. So that's why IAS 38 forbids the revaluing patterns. Okay, what does it mean by active market? Active market ni is a market where all of the following condition exist. The market tu, the items traded are homogeneous. Macam contoh active vaccine tu. Yes, it is correct. You're homogeneous. Willing buyers and sellers can normally be found at any time, and then prices are available to the public. How to amortize? Kan tadi dalam development cost tadi, you gonna useful life. Ni question yang ni. Okay, not this one. This is the useful life of the intangible asset. Okay, so how to amortize it? With a zero residual value, sama macam question tadi. Commence when asset is available for use. Useful life and method review each year, and tahu useful life of the development cost, then you should not amortize it. Letak je lah dekat dalam SOP. Okay, appropriateness of indefinite useful life review each period. So kita kata useful life, useful life of the anti-vaccine punya research and development cost tu akan jadi lama lah sebab vaksin tu still ada. Annual impairment test IAS 36 and more often if this is an actual indication of possible impairment. How to disclose dia dalam balance sheet, dalam SOP sama, tapi you tak ada accumulated depreciation but you have accumulated depreciation. Sama je lah opening and closing. Okay. Expenditure that should be expense incurred per IAS 38. Kalau macam IAS 16 kan, overhead cost will not be part of the cost of the asset. Untuk expenditure pula dalam IAS 38, startup cost, training, advertising, promotion, reorganization, replication, all these things will not be part of your IAS 38. Macam I bagi contoh anti-vaccine tadi, COVID. Dia dah come up with the anti-vaccine and then they start to advertise the anti-vaccine. So, dia start kata all people should apply ataupun ambil anti-vaccine COVID ni and so on. Dia dah buat advertising. Okay, ataupun promotion on the anti-vaccine. So that promotion is not to capitalize. Okay. Such expenditure does not meet the criteria for recognition as intangible asset. Okay. Example for goodwill pula. What are the main characteristics of goodwill which distinguish it from other intangible assets? State your reason. Macam I cerita tadi lah. Macam you all buat dalam partnership dengan Comac last time. Goodwill is a balancing figure. Okay. Goodwill itself is not valued, but a comparison is made between the fair value of the whole business and the fair value of the separable net asset of the business. It cannot be valued on its own. Cerita dia dekat sini. Okay? Okay, do you understand what I'm saying here on the goodwill? You understand, class? Hello?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Now, solution goodwill cannot be disposed of as a separate asset. Tapi kita categorize goodwill as an intangible asset. The factors contributing to the value of goodwill cannot be valued. Example, how can one value the benefit of an experienced workforce? Okay. Ini pasal talking about the skill worker lah tadi. The value of goodwill is volatile. It can only be given a numerical value at the time of acquisition of the whole business. Because goodwill arise from business combination. Contohnya. Okay, so that's why dia tak boleh dispose of as a separate asset. Tapi you categorize goodwill as intangible asset. Okay. Okay, class? Now kita nak tengok disclosure yang tadi tu, yang this one, the disclosure note, how to disclose it. Okay, look at on the question here. D and E are both development projects. So both projects are expected to be successful. Semua expected only. The prototypes prove successful. Okay, so ini dia punya project lah. The budget shows sales in excess of total cost. The budget lah. Finance is not a problem. Project D has commenced production and the revenue have started to flow in. Meaning this one dah complete development. Dah complete research and development. Jadi dia dah flow. Remember, syarat untuk, tak ingat slide mana pula. Syarat untuk amortization. Okay, mana amortization? Syarat untuk amortization, it is when it is complete untuk apa nama tu, when dia dah ready untuk production. Mana ni, development expenditure should be amortized over its useful life. Tapi ada dua method tadi, satu over useful life ataupun satu over sales, as soon as commercial production begins. So kalau you tengok soalan tadi, you can say that product E ataupun project D, project D, dia dah commence production. So for project D, you have to calculate amortization dah. Okay? But for E, dia tak payah kira amortization lagi. Why? Because project E tak start production lagi. So total cost to 1st January 2005 meeting criteria. Meeting criteria ni maksudnya meeting pirate criteria tadi, 100 and 350. Cost incurred during the year, 600 and 250. Total expected revenue, this one, revenue during the year. So tahun pertama dia dapat revenue ni. Ini total expected budgeted lah. Jadi ni belum lagi E. Sebab E belum start commence production. So you do not have to calculate amortization for E. The company also invested 200,000 in development project F. But tests are at the present indecisive. So for project F ni, dia sama macam example this one. This one. Dia baru start with the initial design work only. So because of that, it should be written off dalam profit and loss. Itu maksud dia.
Sebagai expenses kan?
Yes, very good. Sebagai expenses. Describe with reason the accounting for the above issues. So, as tests are indecisive in project F, its cost must be expensed to the income statement. Dia baru part research. Dia tak develop lagi. But project D and E both adalah research and development. Dia dah start to develop. Ada development cost, which meets the capitalization criteria, and as such, the relevant costs are shown as assets on the statement of financial position. But there is a difference between D and E. D dah start commence production, E belum lagi. So because of that, project D saja yang you can amortize. How to amortize dia? Ada dua cara tadi. Satu by means of useful life. Tapi dalam ni dia tak beritahu pun pasal useful life. If you read the question, there is nothing mentioned about useful life. So you have to do second part, which is sales. This is the sales. This is the balance brought forward. Macam mana dapat balance brought forward ni? It is this one, 400. Ini daripada research dia lah, 400 enter 350. This is the cost incurred. The cost incurred ni you tahu dah, dia buat research. Research is this one, 430 350 ni for project D&E. Tapi bila dia tahu research ni akan datangkan development cost, so dia capitalisekan 600 the development cost ni. So dia combine lah research and development. But project D dah start commence, so dia akan amortize based on sales. 6,000 ni revenue for the year 1. Ni year 1. Ini budgeted sales 30,000. And then you multiply by the total research and development cost 1,000. So this is the amount of research and development account, development cost dalam intangible asset. Amortization ni akan write off dalam income statement. So inilah disclosure. This one. Dia pun ada net book value. Okay. So this
Madam.
is opening book value, ini closing book value. Yes, what is it?
Maksudnya D dengan E tu dia dah jadi intangible asset, cumanya D ada amortize, E tak ada
Yes. D dengan E dah jadi intangible asset, cuma D you kena amortize. Kenapa? Because
Sebab
according to the standard, dia dah start buat produk. Dia dah start producing. Dia dah start production. Macam anti-vaccine tu lah, dia dah start dah. Bila dia dah start, then you have to you have to amortize kan dia.
Alright. Okay, faham. Thank you,
Tapi
madam.
E tak boleh. Why? E cannot be. Why? Because dia tak mention about E langsung here. Okay?
Oh, and kita just write off itu as a intangible asset je lah kan?
Kita tak write off pun. Kita capitalize. Kita capitalize dia dekat dalam Shopee. Yang write off, the amount of amortization sahaja yang kita write off.
Oh.
Bila dia start comments, then you write off sikit-sikit.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. And then we proceed with next one. So ini contoh dalam Shopee lah. Dia akan tunjukkan dalam Shopee the amount of the research and development cost at 1,400, and in the notes to the accounts ataupun working, you akan tunjukkan macam ni. Balance brought forward dia yang ni. Dia combinekan everything. And then cost capitalized in current year 850. Amortized released to income statement 200,000. Okay, so ini yang balance ni, ini yang show dalam intangibles in your
Oh, maksudnya itu sekali dengan cost capitalized dengan D tu lah kan?
yang mana? Yang 1,400?
Yang 850 tu.
850 tu kan I kata tadi, yang brought forward ni adalah research expense dia. Tapi bila dia dah start ada development, then dia capitalisekan the development cost together with the research things here.
Oh.
So that's why ini adalah research and this one is at the development cost. Project F tak boleh sebab dia indecisive lagi. Maksudnya dia baru early stage.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yang tu tak kat Sochi je lah kan sebab expense.
Yes. Dia letak dekat Sochi saja.
Alright. Thank you, madam.
Okay. Any questions so far? Any question, class? Yang lain?
No, madam. Okay, good.
Okay. So if no questions, any question on your assignment? I terima banyak sangat ni. Ada yang bagi I assignment suruh check tu, I belum dapat check lah. I punya pinggang sakit sangat sebab terlalu lama lah dekat depan laptop. Letak bantal dah, letak apalah. Semua dah buat dah. Pergi urut semua apa dah, semua dah buat. Pergi klinik pun dah pergi dah. Doktor pun gelak. Dia kata memang ramai orang sekarang. Bukannya lecturer, cikgu, student semua datang. Dia kata dia pun dah tergelak dah bila I datang. Okay. Memang tak boleh nak buat apa, dia kata. I kena ada physical activity. Bila nak buat physical activity petang-petang hujan pula kan. So that's the problem. So it will take times for me to read. Maybe this weekend kita pun cuti Jumaat. I will try my best. Pada siapa yang dah hantar dekat I tu, I will check and I will give feedback. But pada yang sesiapa yang nak tanya about assignment, you still have time if you want to ask me anything about your assignment. Do you have anything you want to ask?
Tak ada
Anything
madam.
class on the
Saya
assignment?
tunggu review madam je.
Tak ada. Tunggu? Oh, tunggu I punya respon.
Yes.
You yang mana? You yang mana?
Saya
You
dengar.
hantar by email ke? Ainin tu ya?
Ini.
Oh, itu kesian dia lah, lama dah dia hantar. Tak apa, never mind.
Tak apa madam. Tak apa.
I will try my best. Hari Jumaat ke seorang I kalau macam contoh your kelas tak apa. Pagi pukul 2, lepas tu I break sampai pukul 10, I break. Ada kelas macam Khamis dengan Jumaat tu I punya kelas 8 sampai 12. Oh, lepas tu I tak boleh buat apa. I tak masak pun you. Kesian dekat I. Oh, pinggang sakit. Macam ni tak apa. It's 2 hours only. Okay. So if no problem, I will give you feedback later with the assignment. And then insyaAllah later I will give you the assignment. Okay. So that's it for now. And thank you. We'll see you again. Don't forget to do your